This is a brand new panel on the website, and it's a lovely print. It's very nostalgic and vintage, and it will make 5 drawstring gift bags just from one panel. And they've all got the labels on the front. Look, we've got bright and merry, and different sentiments on there as well. But I love the print on this. It reminds me of Christmas wrapping paper from when I was younger. It's very vintage, it's very nostalgic, and it's very detailed as well. So we've got gingerbread houses and candy canes and Christmas trees. And let me just turn that around, because it comes with full instructions as well. Every one of those will have instructions. And here we go, look. So we've got 2, let me move that over, 2 of the large sizes with Merry and Bright and Jingle All the Way. So that's the Jingle All the Way, and that's the size of the large one, so it's a substantial size. And then there are 2 of the medium-sized ones, which is Merry and Bright and Jingle All the Way as well, and that'll make a bag of that size, so 2 of those. And then I haven't made one up, but you do get the smaller gift bag as well. Now you will need to add lining fabric. I've used a cream because I thought it matched really well. Nothing too bright, because these are very soft, very muted colours. And I've put some green ribbon. You'll need ribbon. And some H640 interfacing I've used on this one, but you could use something lighter. I wouldn't use anything heavier because it is a drawstring, it needs to gather. Or you could use maybe a medium weight interfacing with them as well. But they're very quick and simple to make. You can make to sell if you wanted to as well. But I'm sure that whoever you give these to is going to enjoy them as much as you enjoy making them. So go and have a look at the details in the description box below. There'll be a link there to where you can purchase, and have a think about what colour lining, what colour ribbon, and then we can get sewing. So first of all, I've roughly cut out the middle size of the panel actually, and I've used some H640 to the wrong side. Now I'll need to cut out a lining piece to the same size, so I'm going to do this all in one go through all 3 layers of fabric. So cutting right along the edge of the panel. Let's just trim this off. So making sure that doesn't slip. Snip across here. And I've used a cream coloured lining because I think it suits it. The colour on the background here is a very deep olive. So if I was going to use a brighter colour green, it would make everything look a little bit dull. So I think cream, off-white works really well, unless you've got a really muted or a very dark colour you could use for the lining. Let's just cut across the end as well. You could do these all individually if you wanted to. And of course you can cut with scissors. You don't need to use a rotary cutter. I just find it a lot more accurate to cut with a rotary cutter, and it tends to be so much quicker as well. And then I'm just going to use my scissors to cut out these little rectangles which will box the base. So it's ever such a quick project this. There are 5, as I said previously, on the panel. So if you're making in a hurry, or you're making to sell and you've got a few of these, then it just makes it a little bit quicker because they're easy projects to put together. Okay, so that's that. Let's move my mat to one side and we'll start to put this together. So first of all, I'm going to draw the channel where that's going to go on the bag. This is all in the instructions as well. And I'm going to make this 1.5 inches from the top of the bag. Draw a line across there, and I'm using a heat erasable pen, so when I iron this it will disappear. And I'm making my channel half an inch wide because my ribbon is just slightly less than that, so it should go through the channel really easily. And up to there. Now when I sew these together, this is going to go right sides together like so, and I'm going to sew up to the end of the channel, back stitch here, and sew straight down, and do the same on this side. So if you want to transfer those markings just onto the fleece side, that may help. Now don't worry if you sew over this gap. I did a live stream and made up the larger one of these panels and forgot about leaving the gap and sewed all the way down, but that's absolutely fine, because after we've finished, if you've sewn across here with your seam, you can simply go over and unpick the area that the ribbon is going to thread through, where the channel is going to be. So don't worry too much about this part. Okay, so that's that, and we need to sew here, back stitch, down to the bottom. Then let's open up the base so that the side seam sits over the bottom here, and we'll sew straight across to make the bag base square, and we'll do that on both sides, and then repeat on the lining. And again, as in the instructions, I'm using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. That doesn't have to be exact as long as it's consistent and uniform. So if you're using the edge of your presser foot as a seam allowance, that's absolutely fine. That might be easier for you. So again, sew straight across and snip, and then we'll turn this the right side out. So let's push out those corners, and we have this. And then we'll need to do exactly the same with the lining piece, but this time when we sew the lining piece together, we don't need the channel, we do need a turning gap in one side. So with the lining left inside out and the outer bag the right side out, we're going to slip the outer inside the lining with the right sides together. Match up the seams at the side, and we'll sew all around the top. Then let's turn this the right side out. Just pull that through. And there's my turning gap at the side, so I'll just pull the edges of that away from each other and sew straight across to close the opening. Now if you wanted this to be completely invisible, you could hand sew with a ladder stitch, but I don't mind. Just a little seam on the inside there. Quicker to do it that way. And then push the lining inside the bag, and making sure that the seam is right on the edge, I'm just going to top stitch all around the edge. So I like to sew from the inside of the bag, I find that easier. If you wanted to take the accessory compartment off your machine and use the free arm, that's absolutely fine as well. So really close to the edge, maybe just a couple of millimeters or 1/8 of an inch away, and that's going to keep the edge of the bag looking nice and crisp and stop the lining from moving around quite so much. Almost there. And then we have this. Now that will just about fit over the free arm on my sewing machine. The smaller bag, you may have trouble depending on the size of your machine, or maybe you don't have a free arm on your sewing machine, in which case I would turn this inside out, and sew from the inside. You're going to sew along those channels. But on this size, I can take off my accessory compartment and slip this over the edge. I could have done that with the top stitching as well, and then sew around both of the channels. Let's pop the compartment back onto the machine and move that out of the way, and then at this point we can give this a press. I used a heat erasable pen, so the lines I marked the channel with should now disappear. And at this point, if I need to iron the rest of it, then I can do. That has got a little bit creased up. Okay, then let's trim away any loose threads. And because I started and sewing down the side and then left a gap for the channel, I should have a hole in here that I can now thread my ribbon through. Again, if you didn't do that and you sewed straight over, it's not a worry, because you can now unpick the side seams just on the outer bag, just at the side there. So I've got a nice green ribbon to go with this one, and it needs to be long enough to wrap all the way around, then a little bit extra to knot. We can always trim this down again later. Let's measure another piece to go around here. And snip. And I'm just going to use a safety pin. You could use a bodkin if you have one. And slip the ribbon onto the safety pin and push it through the gap at the side of the channel, and we'll just feed this through. And we need to do one piece of ribbon going around this way and then another one in the opposite direction. And then when the ribbon comes through, we're just going to tie the end into a knot. And that is my gift bag finished.